What if I told you that the very mind you rely on to understand reality is the same mind that conceals it from you? It's a paradox that's as old as time, and yet most of us never stop to consider it. We walk through life believing we are in control of our thoughts, of our choices, of our destiny. But this confidence is built on shaky ground. Alan Watts once said, "Trying to define yourself is like trying to bite your own teeth." The truth is, the self we believe we know is a mental projection, and the mind, in all its cleverness, is a master of illusion. From childhood, we are trained to trust our minds. We're taught to think things through, analyze, judge, calculate, but rarely are we taught to question who is doing the thinking. Rarely are we asked to step outside the thought process itself and examine the machinery at work. You see, the mind isn't a passive mirror reflecting reality. It's more like a lens, shaped by your past, tinted by your fears, scratched by trauma and reinforced beliefs. And just like a distorted lens, it doesn't always show you things as they are. It shows you things as it wants you to see them. That's the danger. When you trust the mind blindly, you are at the mercy of its filters. You may believe you're making rational decisions, but you're often reacting to patterns formed years ago. You may think you're being honest with yourself, but you're actually operating under narratives that the mind crafted to keep you comfortable, safe, and numb. You tell yourself you're not good enough to try, that you're better off staying quiet, that forgiveness is weakness. But have you ever stopped to ask, who fed me these beliefs, and why am I still obeying them? Watts believed that our mind is a beautiful servant, but a terrible master. And when the servant takes the throne, confusion follows. You lose the ability to see clearly, to feel fully, to act with integrity. You're led in circles, chasing happiness, avoiding pain, clinging to certainty, never realizing that it's the very mind doing the chasing, the avoiding, and the clinging. The real danger, however, lies in what the mind chooses to hide. Beneath its surface, there may be truth you are not ready to face, emotional wounds you pretend don't hurt anymore, desires you judge as shameful, dreams you buried because someone said they were unrealistic. The mind is incredibly skilled at suppression. It silences inner voices that threaten the comfort of your current identity. It distracts you with logic when what you really need is stillness. It builds walls when your heart is crying for release. But here's the question that changes everything. If your mind is hiding something from you, who are you? This is the starting point of awareness. The moment when you begin to realize, I am not my thoughts. I am the one who observes them. From that place of observation, you become free to question, to feel, to see, not through the mind but beyond it. And that perhaps is where real clarity begins. Before we go on, I want to ask you something personal. Can you remember a moment when your mind convinced you of something that wasn't true? A time when you realized, maybe too late, that your thoughts had been misleading you? Please take a moment to reflect. And if you feel called, share in the comments. Comment to leave. Yes, my mind has hidden truth from me before. I'm learning to see through it now. The mind as a trickster, a story of self-deception. Imagine sitting quietly in a room, alone with your thoughts. You believe you are simply thinking, planning your day, remembering the past, anticipating the future. But beneath that calm surface, your mind is busy weaving stories. Some true, many false. The most dangerous ones? The ones you don't even realize you're telling yourself. Alan Watts often spoke of the mind as a trickster, not evil, but mischievous, not malicious, but clever. It isn't out to destroy you. Rather, it wants to protect you, even if that means hiding the very things you need to heal. The mind's job is survival, not truth. And so, it creates narratives that comfort you, shield you, and sometimes trap you. Let's take a common example. Someone stays in a relationship that's clearly draining them. They tell themselves it's love, that things will change, that the other person just needs time. But beneath the surface, the truth is clear. They're afraid of being alone. Their mind, sensing that fear, constructs an elaborate web of justifications. It whispers, "You're not perfect either," or "This is better than nothing." The deception is gentle, seductive, but it's still a lie. The mind has countless strategies like this. It turns trauma into denial. It masks longing with pride. It replaces presence with distraction. It silences intuition with overthinking. And yet, because these strategies are so internal, so familiar, we rarely see them for what they are. We trust the mind because it feels like us. But the truth is, it's only a part of us, an instrument we forgot we were playing. Watts warned us not to confuse the map for the territory. The mind creates a map, a simplified version of reality. But life is not the map. Life is messy, uncertain, uncontrollable, and so, the mind edits. It deletes what doesn't fit. It highlights what it likes. It ignores what it fears, and before long, we're living not in the world as it is, but in the world our mind has allowed us to see. There's a subtle form of suffering that arises from this, one that doesn't scream but whispers. It's the quiet discontent of a person who smiles while feeling hollow, the tension of knowing something is off, but not being able to name it, the inner conflict between the life you're living and the life your soul remembers you were meant for. Why does the mind do this? Because facing the full truth can feel like dying. It can mean letting go of identities you've clung to, admitting that you were wrong, realizing you've betrayed your own heart. The mind says, no, that's too painful, so it offers an easier story, a safer one, and we believe it, because it's easier to pretend we're fine than to unravel everything we've built on a lie. But here's the paradox. The freedom we seek lies on the other side of that unraveling. When you catch the mind in the act, when you recognize its trick, you take back your power. You become the witness, and the witness is free. So how do we begin to notice the trickster at work? Start by observing your thoughts without judgment. Listen not just to what you're thinking, but why? Ask yourself, what am I trying to avoid right now? What would happen if I stopped believing this? Whose voice is this thought in? Mine or someone else's? When you feel resistance, pause. Resistance is the guard dog of hidden truth. It's often a sign that something real is waiting underneath. And when you notice a pattern repeating, especially one that brings pain, don't rush to explain it away. Sit with it. Let the silence speak. Because in that silence, something miraculous happens. You begin to see how many of your decisions were not freely made, how much of your identity was crafted to win love or avoid rejection, how often your fear dressed itself in logic and your pain wore a mask of confidence. And it is in seeing these things, not fixing them, that healing begins. Watts once said, the more a thing tends to be permanent, the more it tends to be lifeless. The same goes for our rigid self-images, our stories, our mental frameworks. They may feel safe, but they keep us from growing. The mind says, this is who you are, but the soul replies, no, this is who you've been. There's more. And so the journey continues. Unmasking the subconscious. What are you avoiding? Beneath the surface of your everyday thoughts, beneath the to-do lists, the conversations, the memories and daydreams, there lies a quiet reservoir, a space rarely touched, often feared, and sometimes denied altogether. It is the subconscious. And it is in this silent realm that the mind hides what it believes you are not ready to face. Alan Watts often said that our conscious mind is like the spotlight on a dark stage. It illuminates only what's in the beam, while the rest of the theater remains shrouded. But just because something isn't lit doesn't mean it isn't there. In fact, what lives in the shadows often holds the greatest power over our lives. That's the paradox. What we don't see controls us more than what we do. So, what exactly is your mind hiding? The answer varies for everyone, but the mechanism is universal. The subconscious stores pain, shame, unprocessed emotions, forgotten dreams, suppressed desires, and truths we weren't prepared to integrate when they first appeared. And the mind, wanting to protect your sanity, tucks them away where they won't hurt you. Or so it believes. But here's the catch. What you avoid doesn't disappear. It festers, it whispers, it shapes your reactions, your habits, your fears, your relationships. And all the while, you think you're acting with free will, when in fact you're being pulled by invisible strings tied to events you don't even remember or emotions you never fully felt. Let's take an example. A woman grows up in a household where expressing anger was punished. As an adult, she prides herself on being calm, easygoing, always nice. But beneath that exterior lives a volcano, years of unspoken resentment, boundaries crossed, dignity overlooked. Her subconscious learned early that anger was unsafe, so the mind hides it, packages it in politeness, and rewards her for being agreeable. She may not even know she's angry, until one day something cracks, the mask slips, and she realizes she's never really been herself. We all have versions of this story. Some hide grief behind productivity. Others hide fear behind perfectionism. Some suppress their creativity because they were told it was silly. Others avoid intimacy because they were once betrayed. The tragedy isn't just in the hiding. It's in forgetting that we ever hid something at all. Watts believed that true transformation begins when we stop running from the things we buried. He said, to go out of your mind at least once a day is terribly important. Why? Because the mind can become a prison. And sometimes, to break free, you have to step outside it, even if only for a moment, to confront the rawness of what's been stored below. So how do we unmask the subconscious? First, by listening, not to the noise of the world, but to the subtle movements within. Pay attention to your emotional triggers. What makes you overreact? What makes you shut down? These are not random. They are signals. They are breadcrumbs leading you back to something that was never resolved. Second, create space for silence. We live in a world addicted to distraction. Phones, noise, opinions, endless scrolls, but silence is where the truth surfaces. Sit with yourself, not to analyze, not to judge, but to feel. Let the discomfort rise. Let the sadness speak. Let the fear breathe. You are not weak for having buried emotions. You are human, but you become powerful when you stop fearing what's inside you. Third, learn to question the stories you tell yourself. Ask, is this belief mine or something I was taught? Am I protecting myself from harm or from growth? If I weren't afraid, what would I admit right now? These questions can feel confronting, even disorienting, but that's the sign that something real is being touched. There's beauty in this process, because as you begin to unmask the subconscious, you also uncover your gifts. The child who was silenced may hold the voice of a poet. The teenager who hid her truth may carry wisdom the world needs. The adult who numbed himself with work may awaken to joy again. Beneath the pain is potential. Beneath the fear is freedom. And perhaps the most powerful truth is this: the mind only hides what it believes you are not ready to see. But you are. You are ready now. That's why you're here. The watcher within, becoming aware of the mind's games. There is a part of you that has never changed. A part that was there when you were a child, gazing out from behind curious eyes. A part that was there during heartbreak, watching silently as your world seemed to crumble. A part that sees, hears, and knows, even when everything else feels chaotic. Alan Watts referred to this timeless awareness as the witness, the one who watches the mind. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the one observing them. This realization can be startling, even unsettling. Most people go their entire lives identifying with every thought that arises. I'm angry. I'm afraid. I'm a failure. But if you slow down, really slow down, you begin to notice something strange. Thoughts appear, and then they vanish. Feelings arise, and then dissolve. And through it all, something watches. Something remains. That something is you. The deeper you. The real you. The mind, clever as it is, doesn't want you to discover this witness. It wants to keep you busy. Busy solving problems, defending opinions, chasing desires, avoiding pain. Because the moment you become the observer, the mind loses its grip. Its stories become transparent. Its games fall apart. It no longer is you. It becomes what it was always meant to be, a tool, not a master. Watts often described this shift as waking from a dream, the dream of being a separate, isolated self, caught in an endless loop of striving. When you step into the seat of awareness, you don't destroy the mind. You simply see it for what it is, a storyteller, a wonderful one, yes, but also an unreliable narrator. Let's make this practical. Imagine you're overwhelmed by anxiety. The mind floods you with thoughts. Something's wrong. You're not safe. You can't handle this. In that moment, most people react. They try to fix it, escape it, suppress it. But what if, instead, you became curious? What if you said, look at that. The mind is afraid right now. Just like that, you've created space, a gap between stimulus and reaction, a pause. And in that pause, the watcher appears. That pause is everything. From that place of witnessing, you gain clarity. You realize the anxiety is not you. It's an experience you're having, a cloud passing through the sky of your awareness. You don't need to fight it or follow it. You can simply let it be, and it will pass, as all things do. This practice is not easy at first. The mind resists it. It wants to pull you back in. It says, no, this is important. Worry about this. Fix this. Obsess over that. And yet, if you stay anchored in awareness, even for a few seconds, something shifts. You feel lighter, quieter, more rooted in what's real. The observer doesn't need to analyze. It doesn't judge. It simply notices, and this noticing is healing. Because so much of our suffering comes from being lost in the content of our mind, rather than resting in the context, the spacious presence in which it all unfolds. Watts once said, muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. In the same way, the mind settles when we stop meddling, when we stop clinging, fixing, and forcing, when we simply watch. So how do we access this watcher more consistently? Start by cultivating stillness, not just external, but internal. Find a few minutes each day to sit in silence. Observe your breath, feel your body, watch your thoughts come and go, like clouds drifting across a vast sky. Don't try to stop them, don't chase them, just watch. With practice, this awareness expands. You begin to carry it into daily life, while washing dishes, driving, talking to a friend. You notice the mind wanting to judge, to compare, to worry, and instead of reacting, you smile, you breathe, you return to presence. Over time, you realize something profound. You are not a victim of your thoughts. You are the sky, not the storm, the witness, not the noise. And in that witnessing, there is freedom. In the next section, we'll explore what happens when you face the truths your mind has hidden, and how that confrontation, though uncomfortable, becomes the path to your liberation. Truth is uncomfortable, but it will set you free. There's a reason your mind hides things from you. It's not always to hurt you. In fact, most of the time, it's trying to protect you from pain, from shame, from collapse. But in doing so, it also hides the path to your liberation, because the very truths you avoid are often the ones that will set you free. Alan Watts once said, "Man suffers only because he takes seriously what the gods made for fun." He meant that life, in all its complexity, is not something to be tightly controlled or feared, but the mind disagrees. It prefers structure. It clings to identity. It avoids the unknown. And so, when truth threatens to shatter the mind's carefully built reality, the mind resists. What kind of truth are we talking about? Sometimes it's the realization that a relationship you've fought to save is in fact over, or that the career you've dedicated your life to doesn't feed your soul anymore, or that the person you've become isn't who you really are, just a mask crafted to please others, to feel worthy, to survive. These are not easy truths. They dismantle comfort. They shake the ground. But they are also sacred, because in facing them, you reclaim your power. Avoidance is easier, at least at first. You can distract yourself with entertainment, with noise, with work. You can justify, rationalize, tell yourself stories, but eventually, something deeper begins to stir, a restlessness, a sadness, a subtle ache in your chest that no distraction can ease. That ache is your soul asking you to stop running. It's the gentle pull toward what's real. Watts believed that the pain of truth is not in the truth itself, but in our resistance to it. He compared it to diving into cold water. The hesitation, the shivering, the tension, it's all in the approach. But once you dive in, your body adjusts. The shock fades, and suddenly, you're swimming, alive, awake, clear. Facing the truth is like that. It stings at first. You may grieve, you may rage, you may feel like everything is falling apart. But what's really happening is a breaking open, not a breaking down. You are shedding illusions, letting go of lies, making room for something truer, deeper, more aligned. Think of a plant growing through the soil. It must break the surface, push through darkness, reach toward the light. That process is not gentle, but it is natural and necessary. You are no different. Growth requires discomfort. It requires honesty. It requires looking in the mirror and saying, "I was wrong. I was hiding. I am ready to begin again." And beginning again is beautiful, because once you face the truth, truly faced it, you're no longer afraid of it. You've seen the worst and survived. You felt the pain and come out stronger. You stop pretending. You stop performing. You start living. You may lose things in the process, relationships, routines, pieces of identity, but what you gain is far more precious. You gain authenticity. You gain clarity. You gain the quiet confidence of someone who knows who they are, not because someone told them, but because they found the courage to look within. Watts reminded us that the universe itself is constantly transforming. Stars are born and die. Oceans rise and fall. Species emerge and vanish. Why, then, should we expect our inner lives to remain static? The human spirit is not meant to be stagnant. It is meant to evolve, to expand through truth, not retreat from it. So if you're standing on the edge of a truth that scares you, know this: you are not alone. Every awakened soul has stood there too, trembling, uncertain, but ready. And what awaits you on the other side is not devastation, it is rebirth. The truth will not destroy you. It will destroy the false parts of you, the masks, the roles, the lies, and in their place, it will leave something much more beautiful: freedom. In the final section, we'll explore how to live from that freedom, how to trust not just your mind, but the deeper intelligence of life itself. Trust the mystery, not just the mind. So here we are, at the edge of everything your mind once held on to. You've questioned your thoughts, seen the trickster behind the curtain, unmasked the subconscious, and witnessed the stories that no longer serve you. But now comes the most sacred step of all, letting go of the need to understand everything and learning to trust what cannot be named. Alan Watts often said, "The meaning of life is just to be alive." It is so plain and so obvious and so simple, and yet everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. We've been trained to think that meaning is something we must construct, something we must control. But life was never meant to be caged inside the mind. Life is a river, not a machine. It doesn't ask to be analyzed. It asks to be experienced. Once you begin seeing through the mind's illusions, there's a natural urge to replace them with new ones. You might think, "Now I understand everything." But the moment you believe you figured it all out, the mystery slips away. You are not here to solve life like a puzzle. You are here to dance with it. There's a rhythm beneath thought, a current beneath control. Call it intuition, spirit, presence, or simply the now. It's what remains when the chatter fades. It's the silence between your heartbeats. It's the feeling you get when you stop trying to become someone and simply are. Your mind won't like this. It will panic. It will say, "This is dangerous. You're being irresponsible. You need a plan. You need certainty." But certainty is an illusion. The future is always unknown. Control is always partial. And still, here you are, breathing, alive, held by something far greater than thought. Trusting the mystery means allowing life to move through you without always needing to label it. It means acting from inner knowing, not mental pressure. It means allowing sadness to come and go without needing to explain it. It means feeling joy for no reason, simply because existence is miraculous. Think of a bird in flight. It doesn't calculate the wind in formulas. It feels it. It moves with it. In the same way, you can live from a place deeper than intellect, a place of surrender, not as defeat, but as alignment. This doesn't mean abandoning the mind. It means restoring it to its rightful place. Let the mind plan a trip, organize your calendar, solve practical problems. But when it comes to love, to purpose, to healing, to presence, let something deeper guide you. The mind is a brilliant navigator, but the soul must be the captain. Watts believed that liberation was not found in controlling life, but in participating in it fully. That means crying when you're sad, laughing when you're joyful, saying no when your body tightens, saying yes when your spirit lights up. It means trusting that the unknown is not your enemy. It is the birthplace of all beauty. You may stumble, you may forget. That's okay. The path is not a straight line. It's a spiral. Every time you return to presence, you come back wiser, softer, more open. And eventually, you begin to see that what you were searching for, peace, clarity, truth, was never outside you. It was simply covered by noise. When you stop trusting only what the mind says, you begin to feel again. You begin to listen, not to the loudest voice, but to the quietest one. And in that quietness, life speaks. It speaks in the breeze through the trees, in the eyes of a stranger, in the stillness of early morning, in the sudden laughter of a memory, in the deep breath that rises without effort, in the pulse that reminds you, I'm still here. So trust the mystery, not because it will give you all the answers, but because it will return you to the wonder of the question. Alan Watts didn't give prescriptions. He offered invitations. Invitations to see differently, to live more freely, to embrace what is, as it is. Let this be your invitation too. Before you leave this video, pause, breathe, place your hand on your heart, and ask, what am I finally ready to trust, even if I don't fully understand it? If this journey stirred something in you, leave this comment below. I am choosing to trust the mystery more than my mind. And if you want more paths like this one, like this video, subscribe and share this with someone ready to wake up. Your mind may hide truth, but your soul always remembers.